In the last few videos in this section, we've talked all about variables, how to create them, the different types for them, garbage collection, and so on. And in this video, I want to stray away a little bit from variables to talk about something that's incredibly important, especially when you're learning, and that is the idea of comments. All a comment is something in your code, some kind of text that doesn't actually run. It's purely there for you when you're reading the code to come back later and look at. So let's create a variable a, set it to 1, and we'll just console.log that variable a, just so we can have the text 1 being printed to our screen. And now what I want to do is I want to write comments that explain what this code does. I mean, this code is pretty self-explanatory, so it's not super important to comment, but it's a great idea when you're just getting started out to write comments on the confusing parts of your code to kind of remind you what's going on. So there's two different ways in JavaScript to write comments. The first way is to use these double forward slashes, and then anything we type after this is going to be a comment. So I can type whatever I want, and you'll notice when I save, nothing extra gets printed out to the screen. It doesn't actually run the code inside of here. It's just purely for me to look at later. So I can say print out variable a. And this is just a reminder to me saying, okay, this code down here is printing out the variable a. I can create a comment up here, same syntax using that double forward slash, create variable a, and give it the value 1. Again, I'm just creating human readable text that explains what is happening inside of the code. And I find when you're very new to learning programming, it really helps to write out comments on the code that confuses you or the code that you're not 100% sure on, and that'll help you really understand exactly what you're trying to do with that code. Another great thing about comments is you can actually use them to write out your code blueprint before you create your code. So if I were to give you the task that says create a variable a, give it the value 1, and then create a variable b, give it the value of 2, and then print out those variables added together, you could write some comments here. So you have your comment that says create two variables a and b with the values 1 and 2. And then you can create another comment that just says print out a plus b. So now you have human readable versions of the code you need to write, and all you need to do is say, okay, create two variables a and b with the values 1 and 2. So you say let a equal 1, let b equal 2. And there you go. You've essentially completed what that comment says. Now it says print out a plus b. So we can just say console.log a plus b. Now if I get rid of the code up here and I run this, you can see we get 3 being printed out just as we would expect. So these comments are a great way to plan out your code beforehand, because when you're new to programming, the syntax is hard. I mean, remembering the let keyword, the equal sign, spacing, parentheses, that stuff sucks. It's really easy to mess up. So having this really nice human readable format of your code is much nicer to go off of, and it makes writing the rest of your code easier since you know exactly what you're writing, and you can focus purely on the syntax and not on the logic of what you're actually trying to solve. Now, as I mentioned at the beginning, there's a second way to write comments, and that second way is using a forward slash followed by a star. And then you need to end it with a star followed by a forward slash. And in here, you can write whatever you want. And the nice thing about this type of comment is it can span multiple lines. So I can write a comment here, write another comment, another comment, another comment, all on multiple different lines. And as long as this is in between this forward slash and the star, and is ended by this star forward slash, it is all going to be a comment. When you use just 2 forward slashes like this, it only goes on one line. And as soon as I go to the next line, I'm actually writing code instead of writing a comment. So if you want a comment to span multiple lines and be really large, using the forward slash and the star, and then ending it with a star forward slash is the best way to go. Also, something really great about comments inside of Visual Studio Code is if you want to quickly comment out a piece of code that you have. So let's just remove this and say, you know what? We have a variable c here equal to 3. And let's just say, you know what, we don't need this variable c anymore, but you want to keep the code there. You can hold down the control key and then hit that forward slash button, and that is going to comment the code out for you automatically. You can then follow that up by holding down control, clicking that key again, forward slash, and it'll uncomment the line for you. You can also highlight multiple lines and comment them all out at the same time. And you can again, highlight multiple lines and uncomment them by doing the exact same thing. This keyboard shortcut is super useful, and you can even use it with an empty line. Just click it and you can start writing a comment immediately. So control plus forward slash is really great for commenting out code and uncommenting out big blocks of code. And that is all there is to comments. I highly recommend you start using comments in your code, especially as you start writing out projects I assign you, because it'll make it so much easier. And that also concludes everything in the variables section of this course. In the next section, we're going to talk all about functions and scoping, which is where programming gets really fun because you can encapsulate logic into these functions, repeat things, and it really takes programming and brings it to the next level. So I can't wait to see you in that next section.